one of the most common questions I get in workshops and at times when you're traveling is, what kind of camera bag do you have? What's in your camera bag? And boy, I tell you what, that's a tough question because there really is no universal answer. And people have heard me say that before. There is no perfect camera bag for anything. I tend to have a variety of camera bags based on what kind of a shoot that I'm going to be on. And you know, when you're car camping and car shooting, you can bring everything in the front door and the kitchen sink. But if I'm just going to go on a regular kind of a scouting trip and I'm going to go off into the woods and I'm going to bang around for, you know, a 5-mile hike or something and kind of check things out, I tend to carry a backpack type of a camera bag. And there's a kind of a standard amount of gear that I tend to bring with these bags. And one of the things is I like one that has a backpack feature to it so I can carry it, it's more comfortable. Over years of being a newspaper photographer and magazine shooter walking around the streets, I carried a shoulder bag. And while that's good for some things, I started getting mailman's disease. And you know, my shoulders were like this because I had one that was on one side, not on the other. But it's a pretty standard amount of stuff that I carry. If I'm going to go on a hike and I don't want to have to overpack, so I'm carrying just an outrageous amount of equipment. You know, I generally have my zoom lens, I've got a telephoto lens, and I've got a wide angle lens, and then I'll also bring a macro lens with me. And lately, I've also been bringing one of these lens babies because I tend to like to have those with me as well because it gives me an alternative perspective and view that I'm out. As well as I will carry my flash, I carry an extra battery, and I also carry with me a small LED bright flashlight. And these are really important for a couple of things. If I'm off and it's getting dark and I want to be able to shoot and it's getting so dark that I can't even use autofocus, the great thing about these little LED flashlights, these mag lights, is that you can actually put that onto a tree, even though you don't look as though it's getting much brighter. This little bad boy will light that tree up enough to where I'm using autofocus. The autofocus can pick this up and I can still get a sharp shot even in darkness. So that's kind of a key ingredient of having that. If I can, I'll carry a headlamp, but this works out really well. Other things that I'll carry in my little collection here, of course, is my cable release. I'll usually bring a body cap if I have an extra body cap. I tend to carry a plastic whistle with me. Believe it or not, this comes from my dad being a rescue pilot. He always is safety conscious. But I'll bring this with me because if I ever fall, if I break a neck, fall off a cliff, break an ankle, I've got a whistle where people can just hear it and then laugh and say, oh, somebody's hurt. The other is I tend to carry extra batteries, and I also carry, you know, this started a couple years ago. I was on a shoot in Iceland, and I spent a great deal of time next to a giant waterfall, Didifus. And it was so loud that it really took its toll on my hearing. And so I started carrying around earplugs. So if I'm in a plant, if I'm by a waterfall, I can toss on the earplugs. You know, they weigh nothing, so it's not that big of a deal. Inside here, extra bags, I tend to carry a thing of aspirin with me in case I get dehydrating, a dehydration headache. But that's kind of the inside of the pack. On the inside of the pack, outside here, I always carry a ball cap in case the sun starts to get too much. I carry a handkerchief if I need to put it on the ball cap around to get some protection on my neck. I carry a notepad so I can write down quotes. I can write down information if I need it. I'll carry a map with me as well. And one of the other things that I pretty much bring everywhere with me is I bring a little garbage bag. And even though these bags have a tendency, most of them now, most of these modern bags, especially these backpack type bags, they have a rain shower that comes in the back and will go over. So if it starts to rain, you can throw it over. But this gives me a little extra protection, as well as there are times when I go someplace and it's pretty muddy. And that rain protection isn't going to help me or my bag so much. So if I got that plastic bag, I can lie on that plastic bag and keep the mud and the wet off of me. Or it allows me a place to put my camera bag down if I'm out and not have to put my camera bag directly in the mud as well. Kind of the final item that I carry, and I usually carry this either on the inside or the outside, is I'll bring some kind of a cotton as opposed to a, what do they call it, a fleece type of a blanket, because this works for two reasons. One, it helps me on days like today wipe the sweat out of my eyes, but also it allows me to wipe off my camera gear whenever it's very absorbent. So if it sprinkles, I can wipe my lenses off. If I get condensation on my lens, the cotton will take it off without smudging it. And so this is a really good thing to bring with me almost everywhere I go. Again, it weighs nothing. And I can take all of those things with me on any kind of a normal, general type of a hike, and I pretty much have everything I need to be out. And of course, if I needed a tripod, I can always toss on my mini tripod and throw it on top of my bag and take off. But for the most part, that's it for general hikes. And if I need to shorten up and carry just a lens and a fanny pack for another lens on city works, I'll do that. But this is pretty much what gets me around.